Okay, so full transparency, recording has actually just now started, so if you've been here listening, welcome. All right, welcome back. We are going to talk about something today that I think everybody is just at least a little bit interested in, whether you're trading on futures or pennies or options or whatever it is. This is a big deal, but especially for futures. And so we're going to talk a little bit about finding your zones and being able to play off of those zones. Primarily setting the zones today. We'll probably do another video for entries and exits so that we can kind of stay focused on one set of skills. So today I'm going to be looking at MNQ. It is the micro mini NASDAQ. You know, everybody wants to know, how do I get these small, amazing, like intraday levels that I can get my big plays off of? You know, how do I find my entries? How do I find my exits? But before you decide how you're going to get there, you need to know where you're going to go. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to back out of our 1 minute. We're going to back out of our 5 minute. We're going to back out of our 15 minute even. The lowest level I really like to start on is about the 30 minute, but you know, 1 hour is probably the best level to do this on. So we're going to pull back out to the 1 hour and we're going to start looking at the direction. We're going to look at what our top is. We're going to look at what our next goal line is, where the big supports are going to be. And to do that, I'm going to hop over to this very fresh chart for you today and draw a couple of zones and a couple of levels out to show you exactly what we look at and exactly how we pull these things out. So the first thing you're going to want to do before you start drawing your lines is gather the right tools. There's really only two tools that you're going to need for getting your big zones in place. And the reason why we use zones and not just straight lines is because it's rarely ever just one line that gives us that perfect support, that perfect resistance where we can get in and out, especially on these larger time frames. Sometimes in the 5 minute where you're looking at like a range or something that you can kind of put together, a single line may do. But when you're on the 1 hour chart and you're really looking at this bigger picture, you need to know exactly what area you're going to go to, not just one single price point. Deal with that once you start zooming in a little bit. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the horizontal array. If you don't have that favorited already, you can come over here to the trend line tab. You can click on that and highlight it and then click on it again, or you can just click the little drop down arrow, go to the horizontal array, and you can favorite that, which will put that in your little pop out window over here. The next one we're going to find is the rectangle. The rectangle is going to be a super important tool for us to use on several different time frames, but especially starting out here, and I'll show you exactly how we modify that and how ours wind up looking the way they do. You're going to go to the brush icon here. You can either, again, click on it once and then twice to open up the menu, or you can just click on the drop down and you're going to come right down here, favorite that. That's going to pop it into your favorites tab, so you don't have to come over here and click on a bunch of different buttons to get the tools you need every single time. Once we have those two tools ready, what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab that horizontal ray. And I like to use the ray. You can use the horizontal line if you want to, but the horizontal ray is going to give you at least some sense of general time and concept, right? We know exactly where we pulled that line from, which is why we use that. If we use the horizontal line, it's going to go all the way to the left, it's going to go all the way to the right. We're not going to know what time frame or what piece of information we might have been looking at when we were drawing that, because that might be vital when we go back to start rearranging or adjusting some of these bigger time frame levels, which is kind of the point. You don't really want to have to just redraw these every single day. You want something on your chart that's going to be vital, some big area that you can pay attention to, some next big zone, so that once we've passed one set of data, we know what's the next goal on the chart. That's all we're looking for right here. So I'm going to set this right here. All I'm going to do is I'm going to look for some big areas just like this right here. You're going to have some, you're not going to find the perfect level all the time. Sometimes you may find that one zone or that one area or that one level that just gives you everything you want. But a lot of times you're still going to have some chop or some hair in it. And the further back it is, the easier it is to kind of get over it. But what you really want to do is you want to see like one, you know, there's a little bit of a space right up here. And then you get right here, there's some consolidation underneath it. There's resistance, There's some support right back down into it. There's support again right there. So this is going to be our level. If you're marking out ES, that's fine, but it will look a little different even though they do change hands. Now you can make this look exactly the way you want it to do. I prefer a dash line. It helps me to separate it from any other lines I may have on my chart that I put later. I have a white dash line. I keep it 1 point so that I don't have a big thick marker on my chart when I don't need it there. And then once I have this, I want to start to look for where is the next best potential area for what we're going to do. When you're looking for your zones, you want to make sure that both the top and the bottom of the zone act as strong support and resistance. Now you want to probably leave the line or the original ray in the place where it seems to probably be the strongest. But even if it's on one side or the other, it doesn't really matter as long as both the top and the bottom are really strong markers. And so what I'm going to do, without even really zooming in here too far, I'm going to take this ray and I'm going to look to see, I can pull down underneath it, and you can see that if I go down too far, there's not really anything else down here. But then on top of that, I'm pulling right down into this mess, pulling back towards this, and then again back down here, there's nothing here. But if I take it and place my cursor just above, we've got resistance, we've got the support right here, that support right there. It gets closer to this support. We may not get that one in there. We'll see what happens. And then of course we've got some more stuff up here. So let's draw our rectangle. We're going to kind of pull this out just like that. We're going to use the ray that we already have as one side of this. We don't want to do double work. We're going to use that, and then we're going to base what the next level or the next top or bottom is off of what that looks like. And you can come in here and you can manage what that ray looks like. Once you kind of get the colors for the outline and the inside, you can kind of come in here and unmark the middle line if you want to, if it's too confusing, whatever it might be. But I will say that the best thing to do is to just draw some templates or save some templates in here. And once you have it looking exactly the way you want, all you have to do is come in here and go, I want that rectangle to look exactly like that. And now I know without a shadow of a doubt that anytime I see this on my chart, that this is going to be a major line of either support or resistance, and I need to pay attention to this. That's all we're doing here. We want to make sure that we are paying attention to all the big moves that could potentially lead to us either buying long into a big resistance level or going short into a potential big support level. And we don't want to be doing those things. We don't want to be fighting what the majority of everybody else is seeing on the chart. Now there's something else that we can pay attention to here. There is this B-ADJ. And if you're on a continuous chart, that's really the only time that's even going to show up. And what that is the same thing as like if you were on Webull and you hit the adjusted, or if you have it on adjusted chart there, if you go to a stock that's had like 5 and 6 and 7 reverse splits, you're going to go to the past and it's going to look like this thing used to trade at like $1 million. That is not the case. All it did was it adjusted the previous chart so that long term, all of the EMAs would average out to what they're supposed to be. If you have a really long-term EMA, or if you're looking for like trend lines or something like that, it's basically, it bases the candles off of the market cap overall and not what the candles actually were in the past. It's the same thing on here, but there's a slight difference. Because we're trading on these contracts and it rolls over every 3 months, there is a difference between the prices and the contracts. I'm going to show you why I'm not too worried about that when I'm just doing horizontal lines. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust this. And all it's going to do is it's going to snap all these previous contract values and candles back up to where it looks like it basically is trading off of the current contract. But if you went to the current contract, a lot of these candles wouldn't even exist because it's too far back. Everybody's all trading off of one contract at a time. So we're going to click right here, and you see that it does pull away from this right here. However, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a horrible area, because recent price shows us that was a great area. And even if we pull back far enough, which sometimes you're just going to have to do, you'll see it's not a level, that is to go unnoticed. right? These things are going to line up one way or another. Would you have another zone right here? Yeah, probably. Would you have another zone right here? Most definitely. So what we'll have to do is, if you wind up trading off of that, you'll probably wind up just making this zone a lot smaller, tidying it up a little bit. But overall, just as far as the general market goes, it's not going to just throw you so far off that you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing. So the only benefit that really this has, leaving the adjusted on at this point, is if you were to go back to like the 4 hour or the 1 day, and you were looking at this and you drew some trend lines off of this and you had it unadjusted, it would not line up with something like the QQQ or something that does not involve rotating contracts through, something that is continuous, something that is consistent, like the NASDAQ itself or the QQQ. It will not line up with those if it's unadjusted. If it is adjusted, it will absolutely almost 100% take it from one chart and lay it over into the other. So if you're using like the QQQ on the side, you're going to want to keep it adjusted just so that they both line up very, very, very well. Other than that, though, it's not going to mess it up, because I tell you this, one level that you're playing, somebody else is totally ignoring. And one level that they're playing, you haven't even seen yet. And that's okay. You don't have to have the end all be all level. And when you're looking at these 1 hour levels, the main thing that you want to pay attention to is, where's the price at now and where can we potentially be going to next? The obvious thing to do right now is to look exactly where this price is. You can see where we just beat our head right on this resistance level for about a week and a half here. And then, of course, we blew through it and then immediately lost it. And now where are we coming right back up? Right here. So we're going to pull right across here. There's some right here. There's some right here. There's some right here. We're kind of in the middle of some chop for most of this right here. But then, of course, over here, we've got some resistance. Then we got some more support right there. So this still looks like it could be a very, very viable zone. And, of course, we're going to come right back in here and draw the zone off of that so that we can see what we're looking at. And we're going to kind of play both sides to see really what we're looking for. And that looks to be probably the best level, especially when we get back in here. We can see it's not, the greatest level according to this area, but this area and this area both line up very, very well. And you can see, even without doing a whole lot of work, we came back down, tested. This, of course, is the 1 hour, so that week's going to have a lot more information on it when we get down to the 5 minute. Come back through. Where did we consolidate? Right underneath it. Same thing. Tried to get underneath it. Failed. Consolidation above. Lots of action right above it. Where did we come back down? Tried to hold above this level again. When we finally did break through, we're going to see the retest. Push back through. Swing. Push back through. Retest right there. Consolidation underneath. Right, retest on this when we pull back, retest right there when we pull back, got to right here, stopped right here before we went through, pulled back to gather momentum, and then pushed straight through. Where do we come back to retest again? Twice before the big dump, right there. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. Again, you're not going to find the perfect zone, the perfect level all the time, but if you can pay attention, and I'm just going to make this, it's just a little taller. And all of a sudden, that's going to make a lot more sense. And we can adjust this through. And let's see what we get when we come back over here. And now, looky there. This is exactly what we're looking for. So we know that if we're going to go any higher, we need to get back above this area, hold, support, and then push. The same thing we did when we had to do it over here, right? So push, retest, push, push. Tried to retest, failed, push, retest, push. Big dump. Where did we stop? Right here. Stop, push, underneath, consolidation, push, back up. We're reaching back down towards this area. Now, again, you're going to want to try to do all the areas. Before it's over with, you're going to have a line right here, and then you're going to have a line right here, and then you're going to have a line right here, and then another one right here. And it's okay to have a bunch of levels on your chart. When the one thing you really want to make sure that you do is when you have zones, after you've picked the big ones, again, you can make plays off of these 1 hour zones. They're absolutely amazing at that. However, You need to make sure that there is enough room for you to make a play off of what you see. Let's say because we have adjusted, I'm going to pull this back down this way. We're going to try to manage to kind of stretch this out just a little bit. Okay, this is wonderful. Wonderful little area right here. Now, when we did that, we missed this and this. Okay, so again, you have to decide what's more important. You can have a couple of smaller zones in an area, or you can have one large zone. But if you're not going down there right now, I think it's okay to just leave some space. Have a larger zone on there if you need to. It's okay. We just want to know where potential is. But you see how much room I have to play in here and how little room I have to play in here because I tried to pick all of the zones apart, right? Pick. When if I would have had just a couple, all of a sudden this opens up the possibilities for some really nice, much bigger plays. I'm just keeping those on the chart so I can see them, so that when I get into my 5-minute chart, then I can go, okay, if we cannot get back over here, where are we likely to push back down to? The same place we've been to every single time we got rejected. Back down, back down, back down. And if we can get over here and hold above here, where do we try to go? We try to go up, right? We just want to have that big picture in. So this is what the 1 hour levels are going to help us see so that we're not constantly trying to guess. Now, this is already getting to be a little bit long of a video, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this off right here. So this is what you practice. You're practicing the big areas. He's practicing the zones where if we break, things change, the direction changes, the buyers and sellers change. What area are we going to go to next? Next video, we're going to go over some smaller zones, some intraday zones. We'll start talking a little bit about how you enter a play, how you exit a play, what things you want to pay attention for. So until then, I'll see you in the live trade.